What's going on, y'all? Crew, YouTube, I hope everybody is doing good today. Thank you so much for tuning back in to Scorpio TV. I'm your host, Steph So Cool. This time we have Creepypasta Jr. My home security system captured something terrifying. Creepypasta uploaded August 27th, 2021. Now, y'all already know all the important links will be down in the description. So without further ado, man, let's get into this.
Having to move into a new place can be a tumultuous process.
Right.
You're basically uprooting your entire life and becoming reacquainted with your new surroundings. The finances and planning that goes into such an endeavor can also be quite daunting if you're unprepared, which is basically what happened with my situation. I had recently finished college and was currently staying with my parents. Not an ideal situation, but my mother welcomed me to stay as long as I provided a modicum of rent. I'd been staying home for roughly a year, and towards the latter months I had begun searching for a new place that didn't have my parents hanging around at every turn.
Man.
Towards the end of the year, my parents had informed me that they had just sold our house and were prepping to move to the southern part of Florida.
Oh, hell no.
This took me by surprise, as I would be unable to go with them due to my work constraints. This put me in a bind to find a new place to live as soon as possible.
They did that shit on purpose.
My field of view on potential new homes became increasingly wider as time progressed, until I was scraping the bottom of the barrel in a sense.
They finessed you.
Nearly all of the apartment complexes in my area wouldn't have any vacancy for weeks or months, and most other places weren't accepting applications. With my concerns mounting and my options becoming more limited by the day, a posting was submitted for a house on the other side of the city. It was a place for rent, and the owner didn't really seem big on official procedures. They probably hadn't rented homes very often before. I contacted them with my information, and they approved me only after a few days of speaking with me and reviewing my application. I exhaled a large sigh of relief and was able to move in not long after. Thankfully, I didn't own much, only about a bedroom's worth of belongings, so my moving costs remained fairly low. When I pulled up to the location, the renter was standing outside of the house. It was an older woman who had a deep southern drawl. Despite her calling me Sugar every 2 minutes, she was quite nice and respectful. We walked through the house, which in all honesty wasn't much to write home about. It was a tiny single-story house with a built-in garage that could barely hold a bicycle, let alone an entire car. Though overall I was quite content with it. Truth be told, I was just happy to have a place to live and not have to stress about moving anymore.
Right.
As we both approached the front door, something caught my eye. On the side of the door was what appeared to be a camera mounted into the wall. I asked the woman what this was exactly, and she passively mentioned that the previous owners of the house were concerned about home security, so they installed the security system throughout the house. She mentioned there being a camera at the back door as well. I was a bit surprised that someone would go to these lengths for home security, given the house itself and the surrounding area, but I guess you can't really put a price on peace of mind, I thought. We wrapped up the tour and I signed all the required documents before moving into my new home. The owner also handed me a slip of paper with all the information regarding the security system that were set up in the house. It instructed me to download an app and log in to set everything up. That evening, after I had moved most of my things into the house, I lounged on my bed with my phone. I pulled up the security app and tapped through it. The interface was fairly clunky and difficult to use. It looked quite outdated compared to the newer, higher-end systems that people purchase. However, it did let me access both cameras, the one at my front door and the one at my back. I spent a few minutes looking around at my driveway and the large tree in my backyard before getting bored and opening an app game. As the hours dragged on, I eventually found myself getting more and more tired before falling asleep with my phone in my hand. When I woke up in the morning, I was confused and disoriented. For the first few seconds, I wasn't sure where I was at. but after taking a moment, I realized where I was and sighed with relief. I grabbed my phone to check the time and was surprised to find a notification on my home screen. It was a notification from my security system that I had previously set up. It told me that someone had rang my doorbell a short time after I fell asleep. I thought this was odd as I had fallen asleep rather late in the evening. I pulled up the app and scrolled back through the footage of that time.
Here we go.
It gave me a precise time for the ring, but the camera footage showed no one standing outside of my door. I scrolled back and forth on the footage for a few minutes before eventually giving up and beginning my day. Nearly a week after I'd moved in, I was lounging in my living room on the cheap futon my parents had gifted me, watching a bit of TV, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I rifled out my phone to check and see who was texting me, but it was another security alert. This time it said, "Motion detected." I opened the app and activated the camera. As the tiny feed came into view, I couldn't immediately see anything out of the ordinary. Then I noticed something at the corner of the image. Someone was standing in my driveway. They weren't moving, just standing there near my car. I sighed and rose from my seat. I walked over to the door and opened it. I called out loudly and sternly, "Hello?" but was quickly silenced as I didn't see anyone standing out there. My entire driveway was clear except for my car. I even stepped out and walked around my vehicle to make sure no one was hiding behind it. I then took a moment to look up and down the sidewalk, but couldn't see anyone around. Scratching my head, I went back inside. There wasn't another incident like that for the following 2 weeks. Then, towards the end of the first month of living there, something even stranger happened. I was in my room typing up some reports I had missed at work, so I didn't have to get an earful from my boss the following day, when my phone suddenly began buzzing along my desk. It was like I was receiving multiple text messages in succession. I quickly grabbed my phone and flipped it over. There were numerous alerts from my security system going off every few seconds.
That's just...
They were motion detection
hands
alerts
with
from
a
both
phone
my
in it.
front door and my
Okay.
back door.
That caught me off guard.
At first, I thought the devices were malfunctioning. That rationale seemed to calm my mind, if only slightly. Still, I opened the app to make sure it was just nothing. When I switched on the front door camera, I felt my pulse quicken. There was another shadowy figure. This time, it was standing on the path leading towards my door.
Woo!
It looked almost like a mummy wrapped all in black. It was slowly moving towards the front door before stopping just shy of it.
What the fuck?
It then stepped into the light of my porch and brought its face inches away from the camera. It was shrouded, but the face that illuminated was deeply contorted. It grinned into the camera that sent chills through my body,
Why is it getting closer?
and I felt as if it was looking directly into my eyes. It then took a few steps backwards into the shadows and just stood there on the edge of the frame. I could feel my skin crawling as my heart thudded in my chest. My phone violently buzzed in my hand and I nearly dropped it as a result. Motion detected. At back door.
Fuck.
Shakily, I thumbed the app to swap the camera to the one facing my backyard. The way the camera at my back door is set up, it is mounted on the adjacent wall so I can see the entire back patio and door, with a portion of the backyard itself. At first, I didn't see anything. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop and my body seize. My back door was open.
Woo! Shit.
I usually set the alarm to go off right before I go to sleep, but since I was wide awake, I had yet to do that. I quickly stood up and rushed over to my bedroom door, locking it in the process. As I was facing my door, for the briefest of seconds, I could have sworn I heard breathing coming from the other side. A ragged, labored breathing, as if someone was pressing their face against the wood.
Gotta get that thing.
The sound of a nail being scraped on the wood began to resonate throughout my room. Then, after a few minutes, the sound subsided. I just sat there against the wall opposite my door, trying desperately to rationalize the situation I was in. I began browsing the internet on my phone while keeping an eye on the door, trying to find some explanation, but there wasn't any.
There wasn't any.
Before I knew it, hours had passed and the sun was already cresting through my window, and I rose from my seat.
Hell no.
Slowly, I unlocked the door and pulled it open. The coast was clear. I have absolutely no idea where that thing came from, or what it even wanted with me. All I know is that it's going to take some time for me to find a new place to live. In the meantime, I'm heading to the hardware store to buy a hammer, wood, and a lot of nails.
You're gonna do what like cartoons used to do back in the day and board up your door. Bro, it's been so long since I've had a creepypasta give me goosebumps like this shit. There is Something Living in the Shadows by Creepypasta Jr. Oh, we definitely watching that one. This is why old girl sold you the house for such a good price, because she knew there was some paranormal stuff going down in that crib. Come on, man. Like, when I get financially stable, I get my career started, and I start looking for houses, that's gonna be one of the main things. If it's a really nice house, like his wasn't all that nice, but he still got it for a surprisingly low price, that's like a red sign. Like, come on, dude. Like, you should have started asking questions. When something don't sit right with you, you gotta keep asking questions. Shout out to Medea. Like, you should have been asking questions. Even though you wasn't all that impressed by the house, it was content. You were content with it. It was, adequate. You just needed a roof over your head. But still, man, I would have been asking questions like, why am I getting this for such a good price? Is there something that you need to tell me? Because if you don't tell me, and I start moving in, and I find out on my own, we're going to have an issue. I definitely could not have been in his shoes, because old boy was just, he was bullshitting. I ain't gonna lie to you, he was playing around with his life, and he almost lost it. It was a shadow figure at that. Like, fuck, of all things, a shadow figure? Now y'all know how I feel about them. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you drop a like, comment, share the video. Make sure that bell icon is tapped so you will get notified every time I drop new content, which I do at least twice a week, sometimes 3. That's all I have for y'all. So until the next one, stay safe, stay blessed, stay humble. Thank you so much for tuning in to Scorpio TV. This is your host, Steph So Cool, and I will see you in the next one.